Hey everyone, this is a bit of a weird setup for me. This is part 4 of my palettes in my collection, and let's just dive straight into it. So this second tower is where I hold all my Revolution palettes, Obsession, any sister brand with Revolution is in this whole thing. All their eyeshadow palettes, all their collaborations, it's all set into different drawers. So I have the I Heart Revolution chocolate bars up here. In this one I have the little 16 pan palettes. Then in this one is all like, it's kind of a bit miscellaneous. It's just all palettes that are either just don't fit in any other category. So it's like Revolution, Revolution Pro, Christmas stuff, the Forever Flawless. Yeah, we'll go through it anyway. This one is Obsession. It's again miscellaneous. Some smaller palettes, donuts, stuff like that. And then this bottom drawer is all the collaborations that Revolution have ever done that I actually own, but only palette form, not like lipsticks and stuff like that. Those are in my lipstick towers up here. We're going to start off in order with the top drawer, which is my chocolate bar palettes, and we're going to start off with this one, which is the Lemon Drizzle palette. Just looks like this. I actually haven't reviewed this, but it is at the front because I want to review it next. And these are actually in order. So the front ones I haven't reviewed, from about here, Chocolate Truffle, all the way to the back, I have reviewed them ones. And these are kind of miscellaneous. I don't think I've reviewed any of the ones on the side. Then I have Cranberry and Chocolate, which is like this. I feel like some of these are in the wrong order because I think I have reviewed this one. Then we have one of the old styles, and this is Chocolate Elixir, and it literally, like, I have the name tag thing here, and it actually still comes with an eyeshadow brush. Then we have Waffle, which just looks like this, and this I think is a face palette. Then we have Cotton Candy. Then we have Gingerbread. This one I haven't actually reviewed because there is so many shimmers in here and not that many mattes. But if you do want me to review it, let me know and I will be sure to do that. Then we have an old one, which is White Chocolate, and I haven't reviewed this, but it came in a chocolate bar set and it just looks like this. I like this one because there's a lot of neutrals in there, and I am a neutral girl if you've been watching me. Some of them still have boxes, so like this cinnamon one, because when I review it I want to show you the box. If I still have them, I keep them. And this is what cinnamon looks like. So this one is very pastel-y colours. Then we have two of the Halloween ones, and this one is Slime, which is this like bogey green colour. It's even reflecting on my hand how bogey green it is. And there you have it, that is Slime, which doesn't actually remind me of slime, but I feel like I'm going to use this next year at Halloween. Then we have Blood, which looks like this. This is my favourite kind of red. This is a proper deep red that I would wear on my lips. That is what Blood looks like. Again, doesn't really remind me of Blood, but I am going to pull these out at Halloween this year, not next year, sorry. Then we have Chocolate Truffle, which this palette I've reviewed, and let me say, I love this palette. This is a very like girly palette for me, and it really does suit like Valentine's, and I did do it for a Valentine's look this year. Then we have a Tasty palette, and this is the Peachy Keen, which I've done 2 videos on this because if you would have seen it, you would have seen that I wasn't really that impressed with it in my first video, but my second video, absolutely loved it. And there are the colours. Then we've got the Violet palette, and again I adore this palette. It literally is, okay, there's not many violets in, like purples in it, but I do love this palette. This is the Red Velvet palette, and this one, again, I absolutely adore this palette. Some of these palettes I've recently just fallen in love with all over again. Then we have Chocolate Cherry, which again, because it's so neutral but there's some pink tones in it, and my favourite shade is this maraschino shade here, which I actually have in a vinyl cherry liquid lipstick that they do, and I absolutely adore this palette. Now we're getting into some of the Tasty palettes, and they've got like that textured feeling, and this is the Tasty Pizzas palette, and look at that. I love how, I always say it, but I love the fact that they always relate all the names to pizza, even if some of the shades don't represent the colours that are in here. But this is the Tasty Chili palette, which again, I love this palette. But out of all of these, I think the avocado palette is probably my favourite. I have done a review on this one. Turkish Delight, again, I love this palette. I'm really not a fan of these shades in the Revolution palette because they swatch really well, but they just don't transfer onto your eyes well. You do need a glitter glue with them, but I always forget that. Then we have Chocolate Rose Gold, which I have reviewed whenever this first came out years ago, because as you can see, it's the old palette. Then I have Mint Choc Chip, and this is, well, sorry, it's just mint chocolate. This is one of, again, my favourite palettes. Again, you'd think there'd be more greens in there, but it's a good palette and still smells a little bit minty. This is the Chocolate Orange palette. Some neutrals in there, and I, again, love this palette. There's not a single palette in here that I probably don't like. Then we have the Honey palette, which I love this palette. I've recently done a tutorial on it, probably last summer, and I love it. Then we have the Sprinkles palette, which again, I have done a review on, and I love the look of this palette. Keep wanting to shut. No. Yeah, I think I have done a tutorial on this, and I love how bright and vibrant the colours are that I want to use that one again. Then we got the Revo Pooches palette, and I only got this because look how cute it is. It is so cute. And I've done a tutorial on this, and I love it because you can get really nice grungy looks out of this. Then we're back to some more of the Tasty range, and this is the Hot Dog, which again has like the textured hot dog on it, and then some amazing colours in there. And I think this is, again, one of my top ones. This is the Tasty Coffee palette, and I absolutely adore this palette. I've done a video on this, but it just speaks to me, especially like this colour around here. It's like a very nudie colour, nude pink. It's like a lipstick that I would wear, and the inside just calls me. Like, I'm a very neutral person, and if there's too many pops of colour, it will excite me to look at it, but it doesn't inspire me. This inspires me. The last Revolution Tasty palette is this Tasty Popcorn palette, and again, these ones really excited me when they come out because they're very like pastel-y on the front, and then they've got like the darker colour on the side. This is what the inside looks like. Then I have Salted Caramel, and this I haven't used, but it's just a cool toned neutral palette. Strawberry Cheesecake, an absolute fave if I could bloody open it, which looks like this. I've recently done a tutorial on that, and if you want to look at it, it will be linked down below, hopefully. This is the Nudes palette. Oh my god, I've never used this, and look at it. That is screaming me. I need to use that. This is the Toffee Apple palette, and this is a face palette with two cool toned contours. You've got a highlight, a blush, and like a blush topper in my eyes. Then we have Praline, which again, you get your cool toned bronzer, well, contour, blush, highlight, highlight, highlight. This palette is called Fruit and Nut, and I absolutely adore it, which is probably why I've never used it. So this one is Galactic, and I'm too scared to use it because I love these marbled shades, and as soon as you start dipping your brush, the marble goes. One is Cookies and Cream. Again, I think I'm going to wait more for winter to do a look with this, but I probably could come up with a summery look with this as well. We have Marshmallow, which is a face palette, and it's got one bronzer, which is probably a really good bronzer for me, and 4 blushes, and you could probably get away with using this as a bit of a contour shade. This one's called Peanut Butter Cup. It smells like they've tried to add a scent to it, but it doesn't smell like peanuts. Then we have S'mores, which is a very me palette, and I'm not sure if I'll do a review on this, but I might just use it in like a first impressions or something. Then we have Macaroons, and I love this shade of blue. This is just a perfect palette for me. And last but not least of the big ones, this is Creme Brulee, and this is what Creme Brulee looks like. Then we have 4 minis that I have in here, and the first one is Turkish Delight. The little ones I'm not going to use in the full in a testing video only for themselves. I'm probably going to use it in a full face testing video because they're so small, and I do tend to like the bigger ones. So that is what Turkish Delight looks like. Then we have Avocado, and as you know, is one of my favourite tasty palettes. I think I've swatched some of these in a Superdrugs haul. Then we have Cherry, which is funny because the minis are of some of my favourite palettes. And again, I won't do a dedicated video because there's literally like only 2 or 3 mattes in each palette. Then we have a mini Tasty Peach palette, which I was very excited for. Can you see them shimmers? Then we have the second drawer, which is all the like 16 pan palettes, as well as some of the Christmas like little sets that come, or 3, not Christmas, these lot were like in Christmas sets, and then you've got some that when you buy a certain amount from Revolution or Superdrugs you get a free palette. So this is all in here. Once I have done reviews on all of the I Heart chocolate palettes, I want to start delving into these. And this one is the Reloaded Red Alert. Then we have Marvelous Mattes, Reloaded Fundamental, Reloaded Deep Dive, Smoky Neutrals, Visionary, which I can't wait to use this purple one, Iconic 3.0, which is more berry toned, which is exactly what I'm gonna love. Velvet Rose, which I've never opened but is meant to be a dupe for Subculture, and I will be doing, hopefully, a dupes video with that one. Passion for Colour, Affection. Some that I'm not opening is because they've still got the seal on here, but that's Affection. Hypnotic, Neutrals 2, Iconic Division, which again I think is a dupe for something, I'm not sure, unless this one is the Subculture dupe. Provocative, which I can't wait to play around with because you can see it's berry tone, pink tone, very me. Iconic Fever, which is a warm tone palette. I would like this, but warm tones are not my favourite. Blackout, which is like a smoky palette. This is jeweled. I'm hoping you can see that properly. A lot of jewel tones. Every brand, again, like I say, has a palette called Jeweled. Neutrals Free, which is more of a newer palette, which is why the seal is still on it. Euphoria, which is a nice bright palette with only a couple of shimmers, which I'm happy about. Basic Mattes. I think I have this. I think I've said that already. No, or did I say Marvelous Mattes? Then we have a Soph palette from Christmas. Haven't used it, I just wanted it for the sake of having anything with her name on because I love her stuff. This is Iconic Vitality. This one I absolutely love. It's called Good as Gold. It was one of those extra gifts at Christmas. And then again, Fierce as Fire. And I bought these ones because of Tammy. And then Bold as Brass was another one that, because she did a video on it, I wanted it. Then we have some Foil Frenzy ones, and these come in like a gold packaging. And this is Hybrid, and they're literally all just foiled colours. This is Fusion. I love some of these, but these palettes you'd have to use in conjunction with another palette. This is Creation. And this is another Soph one from another set. I cannot remember what the set was, but it's just called a face and eyeshadow palette. A free palette which was called Pretty Strong, which I haven't opened. Then I have Pretty Creative, which is another one I haven't opened. Pretty Incredible. I have 2 Pretty Incredibles apparently. Then I have the My Sign palettes, and this one is the Fire one. And you know what? I think her name is Holofae and her YouTube name is Wholesome. And I saw her use these palettes and get the lip glosses, and that's the reason why I bought them. And this is Earth. I'm just sad she doesn't create as much content anymore. She did get a lot of hate, which I didn't understand why. This one was Air and Water. And then I have some of the old Iconic palettes that look like this. And this is Romantic Smoked, so this is like more purples. And this is the original Iconic 3. This is drawer 3, which again was like a miscellaneous drawer. And let's just get in and dive into this drawer straight away. The first one's called London's Calling, and I keep most of them in boxes because I probably haven't reviewed them or looked at them or played with them. And this is what that looks like. Then we have Sweet Like Cherry. This was a free palette when you spent over a certain amount at Superdrugs, and this is You Are the Revolution. Again, I just like to keep these. Then I'm on to some Revolution Pro, and this is Rock and Royal. Now these ones are still in packaging because I haven't used it. I love the look of these ones. These two colours are like my favourite. This is Truth or Dare for autumn time. This is Earth and Stone. Night and Day. This one is going to get ruined once I start using it because this velvety white colour is going to just really get ruined. Then I have the Jewel collection, and this one is called Gilded. I meant to start doing tutorials on these and never got round to it. Opulent. And this one's called Deluxe. This one I'm really excited about because it's got some of my favourite colours in there. And only 2 mattes. That's probably why I ain't used it. Then who remembers these Life on the Dance Floor palettes? I could not wait to get my hands on them when they first came out. And they first came out with just 3 of them. And then they brought the black one out and I had to get it. I even got all the lipsticks to match. I did a whole video series on them. So if you want to see, head over to the beginning videos of my channel, I'd say. So the first one is Guest List, which is more of a warm toned, loads of mattes in here, which this is the reason I like these because these were very usable. This one is After Party, which has more shimmers than it does mattes, but again, it is still usable. VIP, I lost all the name sheets near enough except for like one. And Sparkles, again, if you want me to do any tutorials on these, please let me know because I will love to delve back into these old palettes. Then we have like the Forever Flawless range. I think that's what they're called. Back here. First one is the Rainbow palette. Haunted House. And look at that. I'm hoping the lights don't blind you, but it really looks like a picture on here. And this is the Revolution Chilled palette. And I have used this. I actually did this on someone's eye as well. This is Utopia. This one's Allure. I love this one. This is very me. Then we have Decadent. Very warm tone palette. Constellation. I actually like the look of this palette. Unconditional Love. Wow, I'm like discovering new palettes that I love. Optimum. Very grungy palette. Showstopper, which I've done a video on this one. And this one, Birds of Paradise, again, I've done a video on this. I love this. I'm not a fan of these cream shades, but I do love these palettes. Then we have some Revolution Pro palettes, and I have 4 of these. This is Legendary. If you've all watched How I Met Your Mother, you would know what that means. This is Bronze Age. I love the look of this one. This one is Unleashed. And then we have Gold Mine. Then we have the Precious Stone collection. This is Diamond. I went looking everywhere for this palette. This is Ruby. This one I know I'm gonna like. Look at that. And I think these are more like toppers than they are shadows, so I'm gonna remember that before I actually start using it. This one is Emerald, and I love the glitter shades in here. Like, look at that one. Then we have Rose Quartz, which I think everyone was fawning over. Let me swatch this colour. Look at that. That is an amazing... Oh, it didn't swatch that well. But again, I think these are meant to be toppers. But that looks really nice. This one is Amethyst, and I love this shade here. I do love a lavender colour. Oh wow, that one swatched really well. Then we have 2 Revolution Halloween palettes, and we've got Beautiful Darkness and Under Your Spell. Oh, I love that colour. Look at that. It says 6 jeweled eyeshadows, and I'm going to test this green one here. Wow. And this is the beautiful Darkness palette. Oh, let's do this dark green over here. Loving these. Now we're on to this side of the drawer, and I will start off with the colour books. This is number 2. I only have 3 of these because they're on offer, and I bought the 3 that I would probably use. I do want to get the other 2. This is like a neutral cool toned one compared to their warm toned palette. This is 03, and I have actually used this in a testing video. This is more of the warm tone palette for me. That's the other side. This one I am very, very excited to use. This is 04. This is more of like the violet and the pinks palette. Look at that. One of my faves. Then we have this Beyond Flawless palette, which I got free, I think, in their old style packaging. But it's a very me palette, and I like that because you got your pinks, some neutrals, cool tone neutrals. Like, I could get a lot of use out of this. Then we have some of these new neutral palettes, and this is the smoked one, which looks like this. Then we have the passion one. Oh, look at that, the light hit that nicely. I love the inside colour. I love hot pink with leopard print, and I'm actually wearing leopard print trousers. Hopefully you can see that. Then we have All That Glistens. Looks like this. Look at that when the light hits it. Wow. This is the new neutral. I think this was the original one to come out. And these are like meant to be dupes for Huda Beauty, but I haven't actually seen which one is more of a dupe. And this is the blush palette, which looks exactly like the palette. I love leopard print, I'm telling you, it looks amazing. And then we've got 2 more. We have the Glass Mirror palette, and we have the Black Ice palette, which I have done a review on these 2. And they literally just look like this. Okay, so this is my 4th drawer in this collection, and this again has got all my Obsession palettes and some Miscellaneous palettes over here. This, and my little sister and my dog is on the bed, if you can hear them. Saf, leave her alone. Stop. Saf. This palette is the Kisses palette, and I've done a tutorial on that one. I love this palette. This is the So Dope palette, and I haven't actually opened this. I'm not even sure if I've used this. It's the one with Cannabis Sativa in it. And it just looks like this. And this is the So Lit palette. Then this is the contour palette in Faux Shade, and it's just got some lovely contour shades and actually 3 highlights that I've never actually used. Then this is the Feels Shadow palette, and I haven't used this one yet, but it's got some lovely shades in there. Then I've got the Feels Highlight and Contour palette, which has 3 contour shades, some blush toppers and some highlights in there. This is Life is a Party eyeshadow palette, and this is more this is more like deep dark shades in there. This is one of my favourite palettes. This is Love Is My Drug, and I think I have an actual tutorial on this palette. It's got some of my favourite pink toned shades in there, and I love the fact that it's a rose gold packaging. And then this one is Neon Jungle, and it's got lovely neon colours in there, but they're more like pastel as well. And then you've got some dark bronzier colours in there, some nice transition shades. Then I have 2 of these Revolution Pro eyeshadow palettes, and I have the one in Intoxicate, and these are really nice. And then this one is in Bewitch, and this one is all shimmer shades. Next I have 4 of these I Heart Revolution palettes. These are like a couple of years old. So I have Angel Heart. This one's more of like a pink toned one. This one is Dragon's Heart. I love the colour of the packaging in this one. Then we have Mermaid's Heart, and I love the fact that they've got some lovely shades that actually correspond with the name. And lastly we have Unicorn's Heart. You like unicorns? Yeah. Then we've got some of these smaller palettes that I've collected over the years, and the first ones are the I Heart Revolution, and they kind of match them palettes that we've just spoken about.
Did you win on your own?
What, on my own?
Yeah. Get that little one.
No, sometimes you come with me.
And Mum.
And Mum, yeah.
With my pram.
Yeah. Did you like coming makeup shopping?
No.
No?
I'm joking.
You love makeup shopping. She actually has her own makeup palettes in my drawers. This is the unicorn palette, and these are the lovely £9 palettes, and they actually have like a unicorn inscribed in them. This is the angel one, and it has like a love heart with the halo on top of it, and I love that there's a lot of mattes in here compared to shimmers. Then we have dragon, and I love the burnt orange around it, and these have like dragon scales imprinted in them. And lastly we have mermaid, which has mermaid scales in all of the colours. So now we're on to the heartbreakers, and this is Courage, which is the red one. And I do want to do like a whole series on testing these, or not really testing but doing looks on them. This is Sweetheart. This one is Mystical. This one I've used in the Heartbreakers review video, and this is Majestic. This is right up my alley. This is Lucky. And this one is Daydream. Then this is probably like 3-4 years old. I bought something from Revolution that was smashed, and when I emailed them to let them know, they sent me this as a free gift. And this is their Pro Looks palette Big Love Tester. I've never actually used this one, but I've kept it. Then we have a Makeup Obsession palette that I made. So this is Flushed, Golden Oak, Brooklyn, Crimson, Hypnotic, and Moon Shadow. Then we have an old iconic Pro palette. Still has the name sheet on. The old Salvation palette, which I used many times, even in a video when I first bought this, which was probably about 4 years ago. Iconic Pro 1, which I never actually used in the end. Iconic Smoky, this is one of the Redemption palettes. This is like stage 2 of what it looked like. This one is Neutrals versus Neutrals, and I absolutely loved this palette when I got it. It was one of my favourites. And this is Mermaids Forever. I remember doing a video on this palette as well, and again, love this palette. Then we have Flawless 4, which I actually did use this a good amount of times. It looks quite clean compared to, I remember using this a lot. Then I have 3 of these, I think they're called Snow Glow palettes, and I actually did a video using these 2, and then I saw that they had a 3rd one, and I went and bought that after the video. And this one I haven't actually used, which is called Snowflake, which is like a very like cool toned palette. Then we have Arctic, she's got some purples and deeper colours in there. And then we have Penguin, which I love this shade here. I've used that plenty of times. Get to all the donuts. I have this Revolution, what's this, Opulence eyeshadow. And again, I probably just bought this to collect it, but it is quite a nice eyeshadow. I just don't want to ruin it. I don't actually know the names of these because they're not on the actual palette, but I'll show you like what's inside each of them. So this is what that palette looks like. It's got lovely neutral shades. It's literally just got one matte right there. This actually has 3 matte shades in there. I love this one. This one's really neutral and 2 matte shades. These are my favourite transition shades, like more burgundy red shades. I have like this glossy pink one, which has 1 matte shade. Then I've got a yellow one, which has 2 matte shades in there. I've actually swatched this shade. And then just a baby pink one, which has 2 shades there that are matte. Now for the donuts. So this one is Cinnamon Sugar, and it is a bronzer. Then we have Maple Glazed, which just is an eyeshadow palette, a more neutral one. Peanut Butter and Jelly, which has got more neutral shades again, but more like deeper neutral shades. This one is a highlight, and this is Vanilla Frosting. This one is Strawberry Sprinkles. This one is a blusher one, and this is Pink Frosting, so you've got like a darker blush and like a lighter peach one. This one is Chocolate Caramel. And then this one is Chocolate Dipped. These are the newer ones, and this is Mint Choc Chip. It has all green shimmer shades in there. This one is Chocolate Custard, which there is just 1 matte shade here. And then this one is Sugar Coated. There's 1 matte shade. These donuts do love to have just one matte shade in them. And this is Cherry Pie with all shimmers in there. Then we have tons of these big palettes at the back, which back in the day I did loads of videos on these. And this is Brighter Than My Future, which has 8 highlight shades in there. This one is the Pro HD Amplified Get Baked palette. This has like highlights, blushes in. I actually used to love, I think it was this shade, Sweet. This was a lovely highlight. And this is Glow Getter. The whole reason I bought this is because it reminded, I snapped a nail. Okay, well, don't mind that. This reminded me of the Ofra palettes that I just never wanted to spend like 70 quid on. So I bought one of these. This is the Mega Matte Amplified palette, and this is just like bronzers, blushes. These are like a banana powder for under your eyes, lace. You can use these to set your face with. Then we got some eyeshadow palettes, and this is Defiant, which is like more of like your blues, and there's loads of blues and greens, some pinks, dark neutral shades. It's like you could get a really nice grungy look out of this one. Then this one is Innovation, which is literally just all matte colours. This one is Smolder, which is more of a smoky palette, and I've noticed with smoky palettes they love to put a nice blue in there. This is my favourite one. This is Socialite. This is kind of the colours I always tend to go with. Some neutrals, there's some like cool tone colours here, berry tones here. Like, I just love it. Then this is the last of these amplified palettes, and this is Exhilarate, which is mostly all shimmers except for these mattes down here. And the last palette in this drawer is the Large Up palette, and this, I only bought one of these because I started getting, when the big ones came out, I started getting a bit like, let me buy a palette that I will use, and this is it. And this is the Large It Up one, and this is because you can see it's like my perfect neutral berry type shades that I will get a use out of. Shade I'd never use is this one here. Like, look at that. Hoping the light catches that. Now we're on to my final drawer, which is all collaborations. This is just like face palette, highlight palettes, eyeshadow palettes, contours. All the lip collaborations are in my lip storage up on the top, but these are the other ones. So I tend to, with the collaboration palettes, is keep the boxes, because you'll see that I actually do have 1 or 2 signed by Imagination because I won a contest to go see her. So yeah, this is the final drawer, and I'm sure this video is really long. This is Radie's Moonlight palette. So her highlight palette, they actually come double-sided, and this is my favourite highlight in this palette, and that's what that looks like. Again, I like these two. This is her Daydream palette, which is an eyeshadow. This is more of the brighter one. Then you have her Dusk eyeshadow palette. And that just looks like that. Then we have Belle Jordan's eyeshadow palette, and I love this one because she actually got a friend of hers to design the front, who's a tattoo artist. And this again is more me. I haven't actually used this one, which I'm quite surprised because it's got shades that I'd love. And these are palettes in collaboration with Obsession and not Revolution. We have Roxy's 3 palettes, which I actually have done a video on. This is her highlight and contour palette. And this is such a versatile palette because it's not just catered to lighter skin tones, like medium to dark can use this palette. This is the Colour Burst palette. And then this is the Ride or Die palette, which is my favourite one because I can get more use out of this one than the other ones. Then we have Rachel Leary's palette, and this is her Goddess on the Go. This one I actually just used for the first time in a tutorial, and it's got like 4 facial pans. So you've got like 2 highlighters, a blush topper and a bronzer slash contour, and then you've got these 9 eyeshadows, and this is like a really lovely eyeshadow palette. You could also use this as a, not just a highlight, but like a bronzer topper. Then I only have one of, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. It looks like Seabal. This is her Night to Night palette. The Day to Night palette, when I ordered this, was out of stock. and it looks exactly the same on the box. And this one actually has a name sheet. And then Imogen has actually signed this palette box for me, and this is her eyeshadow palette. I love the pale purple. And then I've got Kizu's palette, and I love this palette. This reminded me of Soph's first palette, of how it looked set out. Like, this is my favourite, like, baby pink shade. And then you've got 2 highlights and then all these shades in the middle. Now we're on to Soph's original palette, and as I can tell you, this was my all-time favourite collaboration palette at the beginning. When this came out, I was so excited for this. Like, look how much this has been used. Let me try and... Like, I've actually hit pan on that shade. I used to use this every day for work. It was like my favourite. All these shimmers used to get used. And yeah, I've still kept the name sheet in there. And then her next palette, I'm not even sure if I've used this, because I kept going back to her first one. I actually like this packaging better. I know it gets dirtier quickly, but I don't like these reflective packaging. I like the fact that the names are on here. It looks like I have used it, but I do admit I love the first one the best. Then Kami's Make Magic palette, and I can't remember which one was first. Whichever one was first was the one that I enjoyed the most. But I love the little hearts in there, and this colour here is amazing. But yeah, I can remember loving the first palette the best. First one was my favourite, especially the highlight Opulence. Mixing them 2 together was amazing, but I love that there wasn't too many eyeshadows and that I could do this quickly on my way to work, and love that palette. And then Tammy's palettes. So this is the second palette, and that's what the case looks like. It's actually on her, on the case of it, and I realised I haven't actually ever used this one. But her original palette, now that was my favourite. I actually bought this for my friend as well. But this was my favourite palette of hers. And it doesn't look like I've used it much. It's because I've used the same shades in here. But this was my absolute favourite palette. And I loved the video where she explained all of the names in there. Then we've got Jack's palette, and I was super excited to see this one come out. I've not used this again, but I loved his idea of his layout. His layout was different. I think it was something like each corner represented like one look you could get out of it, and I love that idea. Really hate name sheets, but I keep them anyway, because when it's a collaborator, there's special meaning to all their names. This one I was super excited for. I can't say her name. It looks like Miscellaneous. I can't say it, and I've just butchered it. And I love this. This one's more cardboard, but it's got a mirror in there, just a small one. And I love the fact that there's 3 little face pack colours here. So you got your contour, blush. That blush is amazing. Highlight, and like not as many eyeshadows. I feel overwhelmed when a palette's got too many eyeshadows, but that is a lovely palette. Then we've got the Fortune Favours the Brave, and I don't know why this is in here. I think this is in here because I remember them saying that they actually collaborated with bloggers on this one. I think this was the... Just put my finger through it. But yeah, I like a few of these shades I have used, but I haven't used this as much as I would like to. Don't know why this is in here. This definitely isn't... I think this is new. This came free, and I think I've just thrown it in here. And that is the Beyond Flawless palette. Never used it, but looks nice. Again, some of these palettes I don't know why they're in here. They should be in another drawer. This is Petra's first palette with Revolution. I remember being really excited for this one because it opened up differently, and I think hers was the first palette to actually open up like this, to be double-sided. And I'm keeping this. There's no names on it, but I'm keeping it because in case like one side gets dirty, it keeps the other side clean. And then this is Petra's second collection. So she's got like a bronzer and highlight palette, and then she's got an eyeshadow palette. I love this colour. I recently done a video on this. But this, I love it. And there's XOXO imprinted in some of these. It's like a little personal touch. Again, my favourite colour. And then it's double-sided again. This shade is so nice. Like, really nice. This is Natalia, her first collaboration with Revolution Pro. So this, it says it's limited edition, but I bought this like a year after it came out. This is the face palette, and I love the fact that this is it's very different to the other palettes that are out there. So you've got like 2 contours, a banana powder, a blusher, and 2 highlights at the bottom. And this is the second palette, which has all the eyeshadows, and this is just more neutral, which I loved. You can get so much more out of it for me. But this is Imagination's Highlight to the Moon palette, and again, it's like written on. She actually wrote on both of them. I was so happy. And this is what it looks like. I love this one. When I saw her reveal video, that is the whole reason I bought it. And the fact that the contours, I can use 2. This is a palette I can use a lot out of. I feel like this contour is probably the only shade I might not use that much out of. Emily Edits the Needs palette. It's her smaller palette out of the 2. I'll show you the bigger one after, once I've cleaned this mess up. Again, everyone wasn't that impressed that there wasn't much in there, but that just meant it was easier for me to do a look with. Like, I could use this whole palette again. It wasn't a waste of money. Pride palette. This is the Proud of Your Life, My Life eyeshadow palette. I think this is like the last palette they've done with these tiny circle pans. And then Dana's palette. One of my favourite. I actually bought the lip kit as well. The lip kit is incredible. This was out of stock for so long, and I waited so long for it. And when it finally came in stock, I was so glad I picked it up. But again, I've not used it, but it screams my name. So I got 3 of these now. That's what I call makeup. So the 2000, the 90s, and the 80s. This is the 2000s. Look at that. I love the concept of these palettes. But I don't know if any of you guys have heard, this is the 90s actually. The whole reason I do a collection and not declutter anything is because what's his name? Mario, who is Kim Kardashian's makeup artist, he owns 2 of everything. So when he gets a collection, say Kylie or Kim's, he'll have 2 because he'll keep one. Imagine there's like a makeup museum. He's got like the first collection, and I feel like that's kind of what I do. So this is what the 90s one looks like. It's more pinky toned and berry, slightly berry, more pinks. I'm hoping has a lot of colour in, because that's what I associate the 80s with, is loads and loads of colour. It's not as bright as I thought it would be. We have 3 of these animal palettes, and this is Integrity. Reminds me of Tammy's palette with like the way it's set out. Courage has the leopard print. Ooh, and it's more like reflective. This is me. I am definitely going to do a palette, especially that it's leopard print. Like, look at me. I'm definitely going to have to do a testing video on this. But this one is Fierce. This is the tiger print. I do love tiger print as well. Ooh, I like this, but I definitely know the leopard print would be more my style. Last 2. This is Emily Edit the Once palette. This is her big ass palette. It's a lovely peach colour. Look at that. I wanted this because I just love the layout of it. I know you could probably fit more colours. It was probably overpriced, but I bought it when it went on sale. That's probably why I haven't done a video on it, because I bought it months after it came out. But if you do want a video on this, I will be glad to do that. And then one of my absolute fave palettes is Rachel Leary's Ultimate Goddess palette. This one I was super excited for. This one is my absolute fave just because of this bronze glow shadow. You can use that all over your bronzer. Love this. I love it all. But I prefer the shadows in the littler palette. They're more me. That's why I use more of these shades in this one. In the littler palette I like the eyeshadows. But I just love this palette. And that is part 4 all concluded. If there's anything you want, please let me know and I will do a video on it. I'm not the type of person to do declutters, because I pay for most of my makeup, and like I explained before, I like to keep my makeup, so I probably won't be doing any declutters. There is actually a couple of drawers I do want to declutter, just because it's just like base makeup that's either, it's just probably run out. Like, there's not really a big reason why I want to declutter it. I just need to get rid of just a couple of things, so I might do that on camera because it's nothing major, just small little products. But yeah, this is part 4 concluded. I hope you guys enjoyed this whole series. Please give me a big thumbs up if you did, and subscribe down below, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.